I have a lot of green clothing from when I owned Green and Greener because I did a lot of publicity. I did a lot of public speaking on television and on panels, all related to sustainability. And so I have all this green clothing that I used to wear for Green and Greener. And I love it. I'm very emotionally attached to it, but green is not a color that I wear a lot by choice because it's not one of my favorite colors to wear. And so it's funny because I don't know what to do with these clothes. And it's been over 10 years since I closed Green and Greener. And so I have this whole portion of wardrobe that I don't wear. And that doesn't even really fit me either, but I am emotionally attached to it. You have clothes like that, clothes that you're not wearing, but they're taking up space in your wardrobe. What do we do about these clothes? Well, that's what I talk about on today's Harness the Power of Planning podcast, the topic only portion of episode 76, starting now. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my Thursday chat. For those of you who are watching live, wherever platform you are on. We also put this audio only up as the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. So, welcome. It's Thursday, and I go live every Thursday at 9:30, sometimes with guests, sometimes without guests. Actually, my friend Christine was supposed to join me today, but something got in the way. Most of my friends are mom friends. And so sometimes you have to be a mom first, and I totally get it. And so I am here alone today on the Harness the Power Planning podcast. And as you know, my name's Allegra, and I have a business along with Natasha called Beyond Your Wildest Dreams, or BYWD as we call it. And for those listening on the podcast, I'm holding up our bouquet of books. And so we write workbooks that are all short reads. You can get through it in 45 minutes or less, and they're all designed to help you live a life where you can prioritize yourself, save time, and accomplish your goals. Because we know as working moms how hard it can be to do anything just for yourself. You have drop off, you have extracurricular activities, you have sick kiddos, then you have your work. Oh, wait, and then there's you as a person. And we firmly believe that by putting yourself first, you can help avoid burnout. I don't know if you've seen any of our posts, or if you go onto our website, we also have a blog. It's bywdreams.com. And I will just pop it up right now on the bottom of the screen. If you go there and you see we have a blog, and you can see that we have different posts about things like burnout. And actually, recently, this year, in fact, just a couple months ago, the Surgeon General said that parental burnout is an epidemic. Academic. I just made up a word. An epidemic. An academic epidemic. An epidemic. And this is something that I think has been intuited by many parents for a long time. However, to see it validated by the Surgeon General was powerful. Natasha and I both talked about how, wow, okay, maybe because most of the recommendations are policy related. Most of the recommendations that the Surgeon General makes with regards to parental burnout are things that really are beyond your and my control as individuals. And he talks about things like more support in the work environment for working parents. And I think it's really amazing. We can all agree. What are we talking about today, Richard? Today, I am talking about tweaking my morning ritual. And I'm also talking about how wardrobes change as we age. So if that's interesting to you, I look forward to you sticking around. And so anyway, that's what we talk about on Harness the Power of Planning. It's all about helping working moms prioritize yourself, save time, and accomplish your goals. And so today I'm talking about, the topic today actually is about changing bodies, changing wardrobes. Natasha and I are both going through perimenopause, and we things change as you age. And so we're going to talk about that today, or I'm going to talk about that today. I turned 50 this year. Natasha turned 50 this year, and, the age 50 doesn't necessarily mean anything so much as the fact that, we are older now. And I, at this point, am coming off of a period of, not prioritizing my health that started with my father passing in 2020. And he didn't pass because of COVID. He had been declining for a while. So it wasn't sudden, but it also wasn't expected. My father had an amazing spirit, and to the end, he was saying, "This is not the end for me," which, was amazing. However, ugh, I'm gonna tear up right now. Um, when he passed, it knocked me for a loop. It did. Just sudden outbursts of crying for 6 months, for 6 months at least. There were just sudden outbursts of crying for no reason. Just I'd be washing the dishes and tears, waterworks. And I've only lost one other person close to me in my life. So it's not like this is something that I have a lot of experience with. And that was my grandfather, and he passed 14 years ago. So it was, it's been a while. Plus, when my grandfather passed, I was actually pregnant. And so I really couldn't I had things to think about. I couldn't let myself go the same way. But also with my grandfather, when he passed, we were able to have a really nice memorial. It was so beautiful. It really just a real sense of closure. When my father passed 2020, couldn't have a funeral. So I don't know. I guess it felt like I wasn't able to grieve the way I really wanted to grieve. So coming off of that, and then of course we're in the pandemic and there's all these things happening. So I want to say there was a solid year there where I did not do regular exercise, which was really unusual for me. I've always really enjoyed movement and staying active. And so I've slowly been sort of digging my way out of that. In 2021, I started doing these sunrise hikes once a week just to like get back into movement. Here, I mean, the crazy thing is when you don't move, at least for me, I can only speak from my own experience. When I don't move, I don't feel the need to move. It's kind of a crazy reinforcing thing. And so even though I had been, an athlete all my life, I had exercised regularly for a long time, spending a year of not really moving, it was so hard to get myself moving again. And so I needed some oomph, some extra motivation to make it happen. And so I asked some friends if they wanted to do a weekly hike with me. And I think in 2021, perhaps the only movement I really did was that weekly hike. I might have done something else, but I think I might have only done that weekly hike. But 2021, I was kind of lackadaisical. It's like, "Can we make it happen? Great. Can we not? Okay, no big deal." But then in 2022, I think was when I started saying, "Okay, I wanna hit at least 30 hikes, 30 sunrise hikes a year." And somehow putting a number to it and making it more of a commitment actually helped me to make moving more of a priority in my life. And I started doing more movement in 2022. And then 2022, 2023, 2024, I've hit 30 hikes, sunrise hikes. Actually, I'm up to I think 32, I think in 2024. 31 or 32. I'm over 30 already, which is really exciting because I've never been at 30 this early in the year. So that's been really great. And I've also been doing a lot of other movement. I joined ClassPass and I've been playing tennis. I've been doing Legree. I guess I'll just end with Legree because some people don't call it Legree Pilates, but it's a Pilates informed exercise. So I've been doing Legree. I've been doing super slow weight training. I've been doing metabolic renewal workouts. So I've been doing lots of different things. And I'm now getting to the point where I think now since I've had my Fitbit for about a year. I have been regularly getting in 20 plus days of exercise for about a year now. So that's been really good. However, there are some, there as you know, if you've listened to me talk, I'm in year 9 of perimenopause. That's right, you did not hear that wrong, year 9. Menopause can last a decade easily, and, it's funny because we all are used to hearing about menopause, and if you don't know, the definition of menopause is 12 months in a row with no period. Perimenopause is the time before menopause when your hormones are diminishing. And for some people, this happens quickly. For some people, it happens slowly. I guess I'm one of those slow people. But I knew that I was entering perimenopause about 9 years ago because after decades of having 12 periods a year, I went down to 11. And then the next year, 10. And the next year, 9. And it just went like that until about 4 years ago. I started having some other symptoms like difficulty sleeping through the night and suddenly feeling warm for no reason. So I started having some other symptoms of perimenopause, and definitely as I'm nearing the finish line, it could be any day now, people. It could be any day. As I've been nearing the finish line, I've definitely noticed that my body has changed. And I don't know that it's changed permanently because as I said, like my exercising has kind of been going up the last year. So I don't know how much of my body changing is because I am coming out of this period of not being as active as I used to be. So I don't know how much of it is because of that. And I don't know how much of it is because of hormones. Because there's definitely, changes in hormones can lead to changing bodies, and that's where this idea of this topic came up, changing bodies, changing wardrobes. However, I am at the age and, maybe maybe you're feeling this as well. I'm at the age where I've lived long enough now that I have whole parts of my closet with clothes that I don't wear, but I'm keeping, let's say, either for sentimental reasons or because I really love them and I wish I could wear them again. And so let me just address the sentimental ones. For instance, I used to own a store called Green and Greener. Uh, it was an eco-friendly, sustainable shop, and I loved that store. It was like walking into a dream come true every day. But when I opened my store, Amazon only sold books and there was no such thing as a smartphone. And by the time I closed my store, Amazon sold everything and people were walking in with their smartphones saying, "Hey, here's the price on Amazon. Can you meet that?" And of course I couldn't. And so anyway, I have a lot of green clothing from when I owned Green and Greener because I did a lot of publicity. I did a lot of public speaking on television and on panels, all related to sustainability. And so I have all this green clothing that I used to wear for Green and Greener. And I love it. I'm very emotionally attached to it. But green is not a color that I wear a lot by choice because it's not one of my favorite colors to wear. And so it's funny because I don't know what to do with these clothes. And, it's been over 10 years since I closed Green and Greener. And so I have this whole portion of wardrobe that I don't wear. And that doesn't even really fit me either, but I am emotionally attached to it. Then there is the clothing that you love that you don't fit into anymore. And that can be hard as well. So, what I decided to do is I decided to put all of these clothes away into a bag and I put but in the back of my closet. And I've decided that in a year, if I don't ever think to look in that bag, I'm just going to give it away without looking at it. Okay. Now, I'll just back up and add one other thing. One of the interesting things about having a changing body is that you might not always be aware of it. And I know that I wasn't always aware of it because I don't weigh myself, I don't take measurements, I don't I don't know, I just don't really do that stuff, and when you're going from casual clothes to less casual clothes, you might not realize like, "Oh, well, your casual clothes are a lot more forgiving than your less casual clothes." And then there was the whole pandemic when, like, you didn't really need to wear anything except your casual clothes. So, the whole fact that my body was changing really hit home for me because of the fact that I have a daughter, right? And I have a daughter who's a teenager, so she's pretty much an adult in terms of size, and she borrowed something from my closet the other day that it's so funny because it's a belt, and this belt actually it's a metal belt, so it's like a chain belt. This belt actually belonged to my mom, and I remember when I took it from my mom's closet, and she took it from my closet, and it fit her well, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I took that belt from your grandmother. That belt belonged to your grandmother." And she was done wearing it and she gave it back to me and I went to put it around my waist and it didn't fit. It didn't fit by a good 2 inches. And that's when it really hit home for me, like, "Oh my gosh, my child is wearing clothes now that I took when I became adult size, and I don't fit them anymore." So that was kind of eye-opening, and, maybe that's something that you only really realize when you have a child who's wearing your clothes. If I had a child who wasn't wearing my clothes, maybe it wouldn't have hit me so hard. Um, but I guess in a way, there was something about the fact that, "Huh, I've been here before, it's just I was on the other side of it." My mother was the one who, "Oh, these clothes no longer fit," and so she kind of gave them to me. And so I went through my closet and I pulled out some other things that I had liked but weren't fitting me anymore, or I had an emotional connection to, and they weren't fitting me anymore. And I asked my kiddo if she wanted them, and she took a bunch of them. And it was interesting because that actually kind of made it easier for me because now they're in her closet and not mine. And I know that, like, hey, if for some reason in another year when I've got my cholesterol under control, if you listen to last week's episode, you know that I recently my cholesterol is in at a point now where I have to pay attention to it. And again, this is related to perimenopause. So go ahead and listen to that. That was episode 75 of the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, or it was October 10th, 2024, for anyone who wants to look at the video version of it. So it'll be interesting to see in a year as I'm working on changing my diet to eat more whole food plant based, which is how I ate before I got pregnant. I was actually whole food plant based until my third trimester of pregnancy, and that was when I started eating meat again. And then I breastfed for 3 years, and I was eating meat, and then I just never stopped. And so now that I have to go now that my cholesterol is raised because of perimenopause and, I am working on changing that with my diet, and now that I am exercising more regularly, and it'll be interesting to see where I am in a year. It'll be interesting to know how much of my changing body is this is just where I am, and how much of it is this is because I wasn't prioritizing my health for a solid year, and I'm kind of digging back out from under it. I would probably know faster if I was more into doing something like super, like, 3 months of hardcore, food and exercise changes, but I just find that that doesn't work for me because I don't know if it's my, rebel tendency. If you've listened to Gretchen Rubin, I have kind of a rebel tendency, like, I don't like being told to do things, even if it's me telling me to do the thing. I need to do it for reasons that make sense to me, and then I need to transition slowly. When I was my healthiest, which was really, up until I was super healthy up until, my pregnancy, but I was even healthy after my pregnancy. I mean, I was I got back to my pre-pregnancy weight pretty quickly given the fact that, breastfeeding did not work for me the way it works for most people, where because I was breastfeeding, my body was like, "You need to hold on to these pounds." But, after my child weaned, I pretty much got back to my pre-pregnancy weight pretty quickly. And so, yeah, I was super duper healthy, really all of my 30s, super healthy. And so when I was my healthiest, what I realized is that I kinda just got there by making these little changes. I'm kinda going back to what I was talking about with the morning ritual, right? For if you want sustained change, you have to do a little bit at a time, and I've definitely found that that works for me. Anytime I've done, like, a super 3-month intense workout, and I have done them over my life, on maybe I've done it 5 times where I've gotten into super, uber crazy good shape, it doesn't last because it's just not fun and it's not a sustainable change. It's not a change I want to continue making. And so I'm just going back to, introducing more plant-based foods into my diet, getting in more movement, being a lot more purposeful about my movement, and we'll see where it takes me in a year. I'm really interested to see where I get. So thank you for joining me today. I will see you next Thursday at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And next week, Natasha will be joining me. I know she's joining me that week. And what is the topic? I know we have a topic picked out. I just want to find it. The topic next week will be on oops, nope, that's not it. There we go. The topic next week will be on how to pick a planner, a paper planner. If you follow Natasha and I, then you know that we are huge fans, huge believers in paper planners. And this is the planner that I have been using for I don't know how long now, maybe a decade. You can see it's quite full at this point because it has lived a full life this year. And we will be talking about how to pick a paper planner next year. And maybe we will also talk some more about tweaking the morning ritual because I'd love to hear what Natasha's feeling now that she is not doing school drop off anymore. So thank you for joining us. And also, if it is October 17th, Halloween is kind of around the corner. If you listen to last week's episode, I talked about how to create a holiday game plan. This is the perfect time to create a game plan for all of the holidays coming up, whichever ones you celebrate, whether it's, Halloween or if it's Muertos or if it's Diwali or Thanksgiving or, Indigenous Peoples Day, whatever you're celebrating all the way through to, I celebrate Lunar New Year, so I kind of go through Lunar New Year for celebration. If you wanna include, Nowruz in there, Persian New Year, feel free, but it's just designed to help you be a little bit thoughtful around the holiday process so that it can be fun for you and not just overwhelming, so many things happening. So check that out, episode 75 of the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, or October 10th, 2024, of the live YouTube video post. And thank you for joining me. I'll see you next week. Dream wild, wild dreamers. Thanks for joining us for the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen.